This podcast is produced by the Suncoast Professional Firefighters and Paramedics, IAFF, Local 2546. It's intended for informational purposes only. The information presented in this podcast should not be considered legal, financial, or medical advice. Additionally, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this podcast are the speaker's own and do not represent the views of the host or affiliated organizations such as the International Association of Firefighters, the Florida Professional Firefighters, or any fire department, government, or governmental agency. The content of this podcast is not intended to serve as an advertisement for or endorsement of any political candidate or political party. This podcast remains the property of Suncoast Professional Firefighters and Paramedics, IAFF Local 2546, and is produced for its exclusive use. Any use, reproduction, or rebroadcast of this podcast without the written authorization from Suncoast Professional Firefighters and Paramedics, IAFF Local 2546, is strictly prohibited. Hello and welcome back. Episode 2 of the 2546 Leatherhead Experience. I'm Jason. I'm your local president. I was told to mention that because some viewers were like, "Hey man, who's that guy?" Right. So I want to start with that.
Yeah.
I'm also the 7th District Vice President for the Florida Professional Firefighters. So and kind of the usual host for this show. So welcome back to the 2546 Leatherhead Experience in our episode 2. Trying to do some new things and get better. I'm gonna go around the table and then end out our special guest. But we have with us today Mike McNeely.
Hello.
There you go. Mike's a Charco lieutenant and our Charco political liaison, doing some great things down there in Charlotte County for us. And much like we talked about Greg last show, in his first political cycle as a political liaison, so we're very excited to see what he does down there in Charlotte County, making sure both in Charlotte County and Punta Gorda, where we're going to have some exciting races this year, and hopefully affecting some positive change. And Mike's going to be leading that up for us down there.
Yes, sir.
Then we got my man G. Regazzi, our secretary.
Hey, brother. Glad I could make it this time.
Yes, and G's here for the bilingual portion of the podcast.
Yo no sé dónde está la biblioteca.
Perfect. G's our secretary, as mentioned before. He's also a captain with SCFD, and very glad to have him on today. We have Greg Howell with us again, our political liaison from Manatee County and Cedar Hammock member. Go ahead, Greg. Say something. Get into the mic this time.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. There's his voice.
If you can't hear me, just text me and let me know.
Well, it's not live.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Okay.
I wasn't
All right.
trying to. I was pretending we were.
And then our very first ever special guest, Local 2546 member and active retiree, current East Manatee Fire Commissioner, terming out this year, and candidate for Manatee County Commissioner District 6, which is an at-large position, our brother, Tony Barrett. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, my friends. I appreciate coming on the show. I appreciate being a part of this group and a brotherhood.
So, we were, as Jameson, our podcast director, and I start spitballing different stuff to bring on. We just thought, as we bring on more of our endorsed candidates. Oh, so by the way, didn't mention it, but Tony is endorsed by Local 2546.
Yes.
Our endorsed candidate.
Thank you so much for that, too.
Yes, fully endorsed by his own brothers. Imagine that. And if you're a candidate in District 6, yes, we did not have interviews. Why? Because we support our own, and that's just how it works. So I know sometimes people say, "Hey, I never got to talk to you guys." I get it, but when we have one of our own, we're just duty bound. That we protect ourselves, right? So, Tony, welcome.
Thank you.
And we're gonna rapid fire and get you on the hot seat a little bit here as it's I think just appropriate. We have our own brother endorsed candidate as the first special guest. For all of us in local and people not listening today, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So of course, I retired in 2023. I'm coming up on 3 years of retirement, which is amazing, guys. So when you get there, you'll know it.
I've heard retirement doesn't suck.
No, not at all. No.
I mean, I did work alongside him, and he looks like he aged backwards a couple years.
Thank
That's
you,
what
my
I hear
friend.
every time you retire.
Thank you, my friend. So yeah, I grew up in Ridge Farm, Illinois, and if that's hard to identify where that was at, it was a farm on a ridge. So
Self-defined.
yeah, and so in Ridge Farm, there's very little things to do. You know, Midwest is really popular for basketball, and so we played a lot of basketball. But I was going to be a hog farmer when I was growing up. I started at 13 to tasseling corn. That's where you take the tassels off, and then they put some they fertilize the corn with something else so they can make these hybrid things. And now they do it with machines, but they used to do it with 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
And so
Child labor laws don't exist in farmlands, right?
You,
That's just the way it works.
you mean my cousins?
maybe so, senor. But the bottom line is that, you know, the better choice for me was going in the Army. And so in 1986, I joined the Army. I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey after basic and AIT, and I ended up becoming a combat medic. I worked in an Army hospital and a troop medical clinic. After I got out of the Army, I came down here to sunny Florida because you don't want to go back to Illinois. You know,
Well, especially on a pig farm. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
well, you know, the climate there is a little bit different for sure, and it's overcast almost every day. So it's kind of depressing. So when I got here and I saw palm trees, I was like, oh, I've never seen these before. But the interesting thing is I was going out to Anna Maria Island because I was going to rent a place on Holmes Beach. And when I got to 15th Street East and State Road 70, I had to stop because there were chickens crossing the road. You know, it was a 2-lane road at that time.
Yeah.
So as things have progressed, you know, we've all seen a lot of differences in Manatee County, how things have changed. But as a paramedic, I decided that, or a medic in the Army, I decided that paramedicine was the way I was going to go. I went to paramedic school. Well, we had to start over back then. I had to go to EMT school, paramedic school. And so I went, and then I became, it was hard to get hired back then at EMS. Now it's not. I mean, I could probably walk
Well,
in.
we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah, I could probably walk in the door today and get a job at
Yeah.
my age. But the bottom line was, you know, I worked there for 10 years as a paramedic. I went to fire school. I saw the light. Right. And
the paycheck.
yes,
Right?
and then I ended up at Sarasota County and ended up my career there. But
Awesome.
yeah, in the process, I've done a lot of things in the community. I've always been a public servant. I've always had a servant heart, and I just want to continue to give back with this commissioner role too.
That's all great stuff. So, you know, touching on your military background, I have some great friends who were military guys. My buddy Kevin was an Army medic. He actually served probably a little bit after you. He was in Kosovo and Bosnia and those areas during that time. And then I remember when we were getting into, I guess you can call it Iraq War II or something. He was on active reserve, so they called him back, and he was at Fort Stewart, Georgia, getting trained back up to go over there, and got super lucky in that right before they left, they had him, you know, they were going to go over there for 18 months, and so anybody who had less than a year left on their enlistment, they'd sent home, and he fucking made it, right? So yeah, one of my best buds in the world, Trent Roofer, combat vet. I have nothing but love and respect for our veterans. We talk about it all the time. Even when we have our e-board meetings, we always have we have our prayer, and we always include our troops. You know, whether you agree with the politics of whatever's going on with the war or not war, one thing we all agree on is that the guys and girls, men and women over there serving and protecting our freedoms get nothing but respect.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think we all, regardless of political affiliation, support our troops, right? And so just nothing but love for the military. So thank you for doing that. And then your public safety background, you know, not just being a local 2546 member, but generally we support our own. So public safety background, we're going to dive into that a little bit when we start getting into the race in Manatee County. But just, I think statewide, long overdue to get more people with a public safety background in politics. Right. Currently in the State House, we have our own Omar Blanco from Miami-Dade, captain from Miami-Dade. Running, we have Walter Price up in Pasco running for State House, Pasco member, and then Jason Smith, who was once upon a time president of Broward County's local, running for State House 102 over there. We, of course, have endorsed our brothers in those races. We're starting to see it a little bit. Firefighters and police officers and those in public safety getting into political office, Senate or city council commission seats, stuff like that. So I think it's long overdue. People who serve their communities, I believe, have one of the best ideas how to continue to serve those communities they served in. So I'm very happy that you're running, and just from that regard, whether or not you were one of my brothers or not, right? So thank you for doing that. Thank you for stepping up. But before we get into the politics of things, you do a lot of charity work.
Yeah,
A ton of charity work. So I want to talk about some of that first. So talk about that.
Well, I was talking to the guys earlier about the nonprofit I started in 2012. It's called Heroes Welcome Home. Rob Rigonati was part of that too. A couple of guys got together. Jeremy was helping me at the time. He used to do websites, so he was helping me put that stuff together. And we didn't really know what we were doing back then. We were just trying to help some folks out. But I had a veteran that was a Marine, and he came back and was wanting to buy a house. And at that time, they were given $8,000 closing cost credits towards housing in 2008. And he applied for a loan. It got pre-approved. We went through the motions of getting the house. He did an appraisal. He did the survey and a building inspection, and he paid for all that out of pocket. At the end of the day, they went and said that the bank denied him because of insufficient work history. And as you know, Marines do things very well in the Marines, And I don't know how that translates into the civilian world, but because we probably don't want that here.
Yeah.
But he had a good job. He was making good money. And so I dived into it a little bit. I found out that the VA, I learned a lot about the VA back then. VA guarantees loans, but they write the rules for them. But the banks can have overlays. And what the banks were doing is they were putting these overlays on things so that they could package a deal that everyone that was getting a loan basically had the same scenario. And when they package these deals, they send them to a second servicer and they sell them. And so because he did not fit and check all those boxes, that's why they denied his loan. So as I feel terrible about this whole situation, and I'm like, man, I wish I could just give the dude his money back, we developed a nonprofit that gives returning veterans down payment assistance, first, last, and security for homeless veterans, and repairs for disabled veterans and elderly veterans that can't fix their homes.
That's amazing. So these guys know, and G knows, being
My brother served 20 years, Marine Corps, just retired.
I was going to say that.
So thank you for that. And you're right. I mean, he doesn't need it, but he's definitely looked out for his brothers in the service.
And ironically enough, met G's brother, I believe last year, right? Sometime last year. We were at an event.
It was after my promotion.
Yes, that's right. That's
it was
right
at the last Gator Club one.
That's right. It was at the Gator Club. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, G's brother is actually shorter than he is, and I know that's tough to imagine.
Well, when I say he's my little brother, it's literally two ways. He's younger than me, and he's little. He barely. It was funny actually. I went to. We just did you said I went to vacation, spring break, real quick trip up to Massachusetts, stopped in Virginia to see him actually. And a pretty cool thing, we actually got to go to the National Museum for the Marine Corps in Virginia. So he actually looked at a wall because it goes through the entire history of the Marine Corps, beginning till now, and then they're going to be adding, of course, as they go on. By the way, it's free entrance. You don't have to pay to go in. So that's one thing I'd learned. I was here trying to pay a fee. It's just walk in, you get to see it. Just don't bring any weapons. They're already on the wall. So, but he looked at the wall and he's like, "Hey, man, back in this era, I wouldn't have made it." The requirement was you had to be like 5'4" or 5'5", and he's 5'1".
Yeah.
So it's funny that how he barely met the cut there. But
And then what did he do? What rank did he retire at? Was it?
he's retired gunny.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, just the top of the line when it comes to the Marine Corps, not NCOs, right? And so imagine he may have not been there one day, right? That's just crazy. Yeah, we were. So G and I. So this local has its own 501(c)(3). We have our own charitable foundation. We talked about a little bit in episode 1 how we get all the tag monies from the surrounding areas, and they come into our charity. And so G, myself, and Johnny Rigney are the board of our charitable because we're the 3 principals. And we today talked about it. And before you leave here today, we have a $2,546 check for your 501(c)(3)
Nice.
to go.
No way.
To
Yes,
go towards
brother.
this. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Very appropriate, brother.
Oh man, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, we give to a lot of causes. One of the main causes we love giving to is to our veterans. Obviously, there's other charities out there that help first responders that we're kind of connected with, but we absolutely want to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. A lot of people don't know this. I know you know this. There's a significant portion of our homeless. And my best friend Trent and I talk about this a lot of times. There's a significant portion of our homeless that are veterans that came over, and a lot of them have mental health issues from some of the things they had to do and see, and they can't reacclimate to society, and they kind of fall, unfortunately, through the holes of our system, and it's very disappointing. Living in a country our size and with the money we have, that the people who serve us at the highest levels don't come home and have more support. So when we see organizations like yourself, that the one you're running, that are trying their best to do what we can, we're absolutely going to give to that every time. So
Oh man, thank you guys so much. And I know that the board of Heroes Welcome Home will very much appreciate that. I never expected this, but thank you.
yeah, it's again just appropriate. And then you showed me one time we were having lunch, and you showed me some calendars, Pets for Vets. Is that what's that?
It's called Vets with Pets.
Vets with Pets. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a novelty. You don't usually put calendars on the wall anymore, but I thought it was a good kind of like a twofold. You could bring awareness to the Heroes Welcome Home, and also have some veterans that that now they fill out an application online to be in the calendar. We're already taking applications for 2027's calendar. So you take a picture with your pet, you give a brief description of what you did in the military, and then we select how many people are going to be in the calendar that year, at least 12, of course.
Yeah.
And then, so then we distribute them out, and we have a QR code on the back of it that says our recommended donation is $20, but most times people give a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But it's just an opportunity to get out there and say, hey, take a look at what we're doing. And we do a few other things. We're doing a cornhole tournament coming up in April, April 23rd at the Big Top Brewery. And then we're also we're interested in educating people, because we're going to have a shooting event in May. And the shooting event in May is not just it's not for people that are experts at weapons.
Yeah.
It's for the people that buy a gun and they throw it in a drawer, or they put it in their purse, or it's in their glove compartment somewhere, and they've never fired it before.
Yeah.
And so you bring them out and you show them gun safety, and you get them a little bit familiarized with their weapons so that they can.
What date is that one?
It'll be in late May.
Okay. Make sure you get that to me, because I have a wife and daughter at home who
Great idea.
who definitely would, one, want that, and two, I would enjoy watching that happen, right? Because we have, as most Americans do, we have weapons in the house, and my wife, I got her a little tiny handgun that she can handle, but I don't know that she can handle it, right? Because we've never done something like that. So
I
definitely.
think your wife would be fine.
I'm sure she
never
will.
fired it. She's never fired it before.
Well, no, she's used to using knives and broken bottles to,
Yeah,
try to stab me
that's-
with. To try to stab me with, right? She's never waved the gun at me, at least, right?
Good for you.
Yeah, my wife and I we bought guns and we trained on them once. Yeah, and that was during COVID.
Yeah.
You know, because I thought people were going to be coming to our house for food. You know, the world was falling apart.
Yeah.
Food
Zombies
or toilet
whatever.
paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, food. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so we're trying, we try to give back to the community, build awareness about veterans' needs. I think that's very important. And like, we have a big population of veterans in Manatee and Sarasota County.
We absolutely do. I know you know Colonel Wright, and he has a great group of veterans he gets together with. There's numerous groups, and I will say this. I know he's on his way out, but Congressman Buchanan was always a huge helper of the veteran community with what he was doing in Congress. And now his seat's open, and we'll talk. We all have to talk about that one day.
Yeah. Well, he was also a very big supporter of firefighters.
Yes,
He said
yes, he
that
was.
many times.
Well, the story about Vern was in his first race, he was running against a woman here, Nancy Dieter, who's very well known and we loved as a state. She was a state rep and later commissioner, and then somebody else as well on the Democratic side. And this organization backed him and went to work for him. That was Merv Kennel, right?
Yeah.
One of my predecessors. And the firemen back then worked their asses off, and he won. Well, I think he won the primary by about 500 votes and the general by about 200 votes. He tells that story, and every time we visit him in D.C., when we would go up there, he would make sure everybody knew that he wouldn't have that seat if it wasn't for us, right?
Yeah.
And then he would. I mean, he was always a big supporter of first responders even before then, and then just the awards he would do every year, the congressional awards he would do every year for the first responder community here in Manatee and Sarasota County. Just well respected. His family, obviously, we have a lot of love for the Buchanans, and just very appreciative of him. And he's retiring. I think he felt his time has come, and we'll have to figure out who's next.
Yeah.
Some news on that today.
Yeah.
Well, those are some big shoes to fill for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So, and then you talked about your connection with the veteran community. That's something we just had that shoot with the Patriot group, and that's something we as an organization are trying to get more tied into because we're the same. They have a brotherhood, we have a brotherhood, and a lot of times we get guys from the military that come out and say, I'm missing something, right? And it's usually that connection because you don't get it normally just working in an office job. And so we are all connected in our own ways in service. And so we're, trying to work our way towards a better connection with all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple programs out there. Goodwill Veteran Services has on University in Lockwood. They have a coffee meeting every Tuesday from, you got Randy Wright is over there. He's running it. He says it's from 10 to noon, but he says people show up at 8 a.m. And it's just a good fellowship. And Let's Buddy Up is another organization for first responders and veterans to get together where you can have a free meal together. And that happens once a month at different places. So there's a lot of things out there. I work with Goodwill Veteran Services. We have a Veterans Task Force where they bring in 20 or 30 different organizations, and we all collaborate together and talk about what we can do to help veteran community. So there's a lot of good support out there, but obviously we need more.
Yeah.
And we need more awareness.
One of the things I was thinking about, because of the Vets with Pets, I can tell you just myself, I don't my beagle passed away a couple years ago, but for me, having a dog at home has always just been awesome, right? I don't have one right now, mostly because my job and all this other stuff, and I don't want to have a dog sitting home by himself all day. But there's just you see it now in the firefighter community with the rescue dogs coming out, or the peer support dogs, or whatever we want to call them. But there's just that there is a kind of synergy to pets and first responders and veterans. It's just somebody to sit there and lay with you and make you feel good. And as a longtime dog owner since I was a child, there is nothing in this world that will love you more than your dog.
No kidding.
No matter what happens.
There was a meme on Facebook the other day. It says, "Lock your wife and your dog in the trunk and leave them there for an hour and see which one's happy to see you."
Yeah, I guarantee the dog is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee the dog is. And there was.
Don't try that,
it was.
Don't do it.
It was always just. I had my beagle during COVID, and at least in an initial month, it seemed like maybe the world might end. Right, we were all working double shifts and doing this, and I didn't have any young kids at home, so I took the rescue so that the guys with kids at home didn't have to deal with that stuff. Jameson and I think we're on a rescue for a month together, mostly because our other two guys were real old and we didn't want to kill them.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you.
it was just nice because my wife works in the hospital, and so we were kind of quarantining ourselves from each other a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And at least I had this dog to lay with me and chill out and give me some kind of companionship. And so I know in Manatee County there's a huge, I guess for lack of a better term, homeless pet issue because the shelters are always pretty full.
Oh, there's over. And I talked to Julie Madison, who's a big advocate for pets, because obviously she says that they don't have voices, and that she's their voice. And we just there was recently a dog kennel that was opened. The Bishop Planetary or Bishop Animal Shelter was reopened, and there's some controversy around whether or not the kennels are sufficient. And I can tell you right now, I have no clue. She and other people are experts in that. So there's a little bit of a battle in between the commissioners now and whether or not those shelters are adequate. But she told me that there's over 100 pets right now, 100 dogs, and that doesn't include cats.
Yeah.
That are homeless, that are in these shelters. And my question to her, because I always try to think forward, is why do we have this problem? And so, some of the problem is irresponsible breeding, and some of it has to do with puppy mills and things like that. So if we can get to the core of some of the reasons why we have so many pets that are in our shelters, we might be able to deter that a little bit. But our pet population is pretty huge, and spay and neutering is very important.
Yeah.
But it's expensive.
Yeah.
And so I think there should be some programs in place for people that may not have enough money to, you got to determine whether or not you're going to make your car payment and put food on your table, or you're going to, spay or neuter your pet.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good place for the county to step in and start subsidizing some of these things.
Yeah, I think there's also opportunity. We talked about rescue dogs and the positive stuff that pets have for veterans and those with PTSD and other issues. There might be opportunity there to identify some of these individuals in places, and heck, you might be able to even, with all the AOLFs we have in Manatee County, maybe find a couple of sweet dogs who can just live in an AOF, right? And the county kind of helps them with that, and they go around and all the
That's a great idea.
all the elderly and veterans and whomever else are there, just have a dog to pet and lighten up their day, right? I think there's all kinds of opportunities to make sure our animal community is being taken care of in a roundabout way. And I know I'm not, I'm just somebody with an idea. So,
Well,
but there's
great
things out
idea.
there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of good ideas out there, and I'm not the smartest guy in the room, so there's.
You might be. I don't know. This room.
In this room,
Yes. Yeah.
But there's
Maybe other rooms now.
There are a lot of smart people out there in Manatee County that we can draw on and we can get ideas from, and we can, it may not. Some of them may not be the best ideas, but there's maybe a portion of it that sounds good, and we can implement it with somebody else's idea, put it together, and that's kind of the leadership that I want to be involved in when I become county commissioner. Is I want to be somebody that listens and puts together ideas of the community to try to make Manatee County a better place to live and work and play.
That sounds awesome. So since we touched on it for a second, let's go ahead and blow this thing wide open. So one of the first questions I asked you, of course, but I ask anytime we sit down with a candidate. We have our own processes with open seats and incumbents and different things. But the first time somebody is running for office, the first question I ask them is, why? Right? But most of the time, why the fuck? But why? Because, I mean, just, in today's environment, you're going to take a lot of shots just to run for public office. People are going to say some bad things about you, whether they know you or not, right? And so why? But let's dive into it. Why? Let's get into the why.
Well, I've been training for this all my life.
Yeah.
So, the public service aspect, problem solving, obviously, you're first in on a fire. You react, you start problem solving right away. And it's not just because you react. You've actually been training for this moment. Yeah. And then when you get there, your training kicks in, and then you start using that training to mitigate the situation. So that's one thing. The other portion of it is that I've been a fire commissioner this is my 4th year now, and I started getting involved in watching commission meetings and going to commission meetings because at one time there was a meeting that they were going to have, and on the agenda said that we're going to consolidate Manatee County fire departments, and obviously every chief from Manatee County showed up to that, and I showed up to that, and obviously
I remember that meeting well.
Yeah, and obviously that's out of their wheelhouse. It was not something that they have any control of. It's at the state level. So that was identified very quickly. And then there's some other things that I looked at, and you made a good point. We need more people in public safety sitting at the dais because not everybody understands what we do.
Yeah,
and they don't have to. That's ours to hold. But if somebody was there to sit at the table with the rest of them and try to get them to understand certain aspects of what public safety workers do, then they might have a better understanding when they're approving or disapproving things. Manatee County EMS has been beaten on for years, ever since I left there. That place, and I love those people, because obviously they come to work every 3rd day or however often they come to work, and they have to put a smile on their face, and they have to go out there and serve the public. But wouldn't it be better if they had a check that came with that?
Yeah,
and they had better
absolutely.
working environments and a culture. And you look at the recent budget meetings that they have that people are going to, they broke up the budget. 50% of the budget goes to education, 29% goes to law enforcement, 4% to libraries, 4% to parks, 3% to public safety. But public safety is carved out of another section of that because it's broken up. It's just not 100%, 3% to public safety. We need to change that culture. We need to change things so that these folks are taken care of. And as I will be able to sit there and be able to, give some wisdom maybe to other folks that have not been in our seats, they might be able to see the light and go, you know what, these people are underpaid for what they do. And the bottom line is this: every person in our area will probably one time call 911 for something.
Yeah.
And public safety is just not EMS. Public safety goes from dispatchers all the way out to lifeguards. So there's a wide variety of folks that are encompassed in this. but how many times in your life would you call for law enforcement? Hopefully never, right? But I guarantee that everybody will be affected by public safety and EMS at some point in their life.
Yeah, and okay. So first of all, that's very eye opening to me. I did not know that disparity in funding in Manatee County. That only 3% is going to public safety, and like you said, that's dispatch, that's EMS, that's lifeguards, marine rescue. For a time, I don't know if it's still there or not. For a time, though, animal services was underneath public safety, right? So when you start
code enforcement also was.
well, okay, so if you start splitting that out amongst that 3%, wow, that's bad. You know, because the town I work for, you know, public safety is always a huge portion of the budget. Us and police for Longbow Key, and it's in the 60% ish for the budget, where it should be, right? I'm a big believer in government exists to keep its citizens safe.
Absolutely.
And in the case of local, that's us and police, right? And then in the case of the federal government, of course, that's our military, right? So if you're taxing people to keep them safe, and you should be, right? Taxing them to keep them safe, then shouldn't that be where the priority goes? And that discrepancy you just spoke about is very eye-opening to me, as I live in Manatee County. And I know, you know, we all know EMS personnel, just close proximity. They share some of our stations. Just got to know them through the years. I worked at Manatee Memorial for about 3 years in the ER. Got to meet, you know, some that were, you know, working part-time there with me as well. Some that, you know, were once upon a time in the fire service, now over there, or vice versa. We're all interconnected, and they do have a lot of issues going on there. Staffing issues has been going on for years, and you know, people seem to think they don't have a fix. Well, the fix is real simple in my mind: is pay them what they're worth. Give them, you know, be able to compete with the other agencies in town when it comes to paying benefits. Because until you're willing to do that, you're just a fucking training organization.
Yeah.
Like you, right?
Right.
Right. You're a good employee, moving your way up through the ranks, and said, you know what, fireside looks a lot better and, quite frankly, lucrative. You know, your pension is better today because you became a firefighter paramedic, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm much better off for that, and they realize that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, most of the fire departments in Manatee County have went ALS, and so you can eliminate your nights of transporting back and forth to the hospital if you get your paramedic and you go work for a fire, or you get your fire cert and you go work for a fire department and you work on an ALS truck. You do the work, and then you go back to the station.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot of them have done it.
Yeah.
They've made the switch recently.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And the pay is much better.
if I was a dickhead union president, I would say keep doing it because we
You're helping us.
We're getting the members from EMS, right? If I was just simply based on that, Manatee County, keep doing what you're doing because, you know, what happens is the good ones, you know, not even there's still a lot of good ones there anyway, but a lot of them see it and say that if I want to do this career for 25 years and I want to last and take care of my family, be able to buy a house and pay some bills, why wouldn't I do that, right?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, and now I'm actually a little upset that the funding is that bad in Manatee County. So that's definitely something I'm going to be talking about with our friends in office.
Well, that's one of the things, you know, that I'm going to have to research too, because I don't know that there isn't some kind of overlay from the state that says this is how much you're supposed to put in your budget for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like, are you supposed to put 4% of your budget into libraries and parks? I don't know that, so I'm going to have to research that and make sure that, you know, when I come forward with an idea, I want to be well educated on it before I get to the table and I start saying, let's do this.
Yeah.
Because there might be something that's been holding them back the whole time. And then that's where you have to have friends at higher levels in state government. That's where you have to make the relationships with the people that are in Tallahassee, and so that you can work synonymously together
Yeah.
and make some decisions. You know, the big thing right now with Manatee County is the home rule, SB 180. You know, that came across, and it hand ties a lot of the things that the commission can rule on. And the reason why that SB 180 came about, I'm not 100% sure, but it blankets all the other counties. So whatever's happening in Manatee County isn't the same that's happening in Miami. It's not the same thing that's happening in the Panhandle. So somebody somewhere saw a need for this bill to come forward, and somebody convinced the rest of them to vote it in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not protecting our wetlands like they should, and it's giving builders an opportunity to forego some things that they should do, some checks and balances along the way before they start developing property.
Yeah. So I've done a fucking personal deep dive on SB 180, and my understanding from what I've talked to, and we all have great relationships with our state delegation in town. You know, I think the initial intent, and then we had unintended consequences because, like you said, you build a bill for the entire state, which doesn't really apply. But I think the initial intent, at least what I've been able to research, was it was intended for when a hurricane ran through a county, and a individual homeowner said, "I want to redo my house," and there were some hang-ups about that, and it was initially built to protect them from red tape to fix their houses or redo their houses, which then some parties in Manatee County decided to use for all houses, even including ones that aren't even built yet, right?
Right. There's loopholes.
Yeah. And listen, those individuals, they provided a service to the community and provide great jobs. We don't take positions on that. I will just say they're also very good at finding loopholes, right? They have great attorneys, and that's kind of where that was. And I know there was a bill, Nick DeSigley, senator just up the road here, great friend of firefighters, by the way. He's been our legislator. He's got one of our axes in his office. And wrote many bills for us, and including one that passed this year, enhancing our cancer benefit. He wrote a bill on the Senate side that never really reached the House, and the House kind of did something at the end there to try to navigate it, and the Speaker kind of stopped it. But he wrote a bill to fix that loophole, because he understood it was an unintended circumstance to that bill. And it gets discussed a lot. As you're on the trail, you're probably hearing about it every damn time. Hey, man, what do you think about this? How are you going to fix this, right? But you hit on it. It comes back to relationships, which your time as in public safety, in the realtor community, and then now as a East Manatee commissioner, you've built those relationships with those individuals at the state level, which I think will help the Manatee County Commission. I will say this too about you talked about educating yourself and making these decisions. I will say this, this current commission in Manatee County definitely does that. They try their best to. We know some of them, and they will also admit they're probably not the smartest person in the room, just like we aren't. But what they have been trying to do their best is understand everything, keep the county out of any legal quandaries, because there is certain groups out there say you can say no to all development. Not really true, right? There's laws protecting property rights in the state of Florida. State of Florida is a big time property rights state. If you own the property and it's within the comp plan, can't really stop me, right?
Right. And that's the other point. You also have to build relationships with the builders.
Absolutely.
Have those conversations with them. obviously they're seeing what's going on in Manatee County right now. Everybody's wants a moratorium on growth. They want to shut everything down. That's unrealistic expectations. I understand the frustration. You know, I drive the streets too. And you know, I understand the frustration when they clear a lot of land and the wind blows and somebody's pool's full of sand. You know, there's all kinds of things that are to address in Manatee County. And, you know, the commissioners, I do believe they're doing a pretty good job. You know, I didn't get into this race to run against Jason Bearden's. He's evacuating the seat.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I didn't get in there because I didn't think that they were doing a good job. I just thought, you know, I could bring some leadership and a different perspective to the table. And in doing that, I do believe that if you look at the agenda for the commission meetings and the planning meetings and things like that, it's pretty overwhelming. That's a lot of information that's thrown at you to make decisions within. Well, they stayed until after midnight one night, but you know,
when you add public comment to it, right?
Yeah. In a short period of time, you're making a lot of decisions at the dais.
Yeah, they are, and I don't forget that. I'm a Manatee County resident, and listen, I have the same frustrations, right? I live on 64, and during season, if it's after 3, I'm not leaving the damn house, right? Because it's going to take me an hour to get no matter where I want to go in Bradenton. You know, and when I first started coming to Manatee County, about 1997, I was dating a woman who I ended up marrying from Bradenton, you know, or her family lived in Bradenton. And we were coming out here in 1997, 1998, and Lakewood Ranch was literally a ranch, right? Like there was
Cow pasture.
barely anything past 75 East, right? You drive out there, and like Mill Creek was the first neighborhood built there that everyone's like, what are you doing building a neighborhood way out here? Why is it way out here all by itself, right? Because you had to drive past cow pastures to get to it. And now Lakewood Ranch is this thriving community with some of the best restaurants in town, and, you know, and all that stuff, and probably one of the biggest components of Manatee County in itself. Yeah, you know, we get it. We've been here a long time, and there is some frustrations with that, you know, but you know, you talked about growth a little bit, and I know you're not anti-development, right? Let's talk about just development and possible in Manatee County.
I'm for sensible development, and you know, one of the most sensible developed areas was Lakewood Ranch. It was a master plan community. It used to be sod and cattle fields, all of it, but it wasn't like piecemealed. It wasn't like a farmer decided, I'm going to sell 100 acres or whatever, and we're just going to sell it to this developer, and they're going to come up with their own plan. They had a master plan of that. So if you drive through Lakewood Ranch, you can get around Lakewood Ranch pretty easily.
Yeah, they have some of the best roadways in Manatee County.
So the problem is when you get on 64 or 70 or University Parkway, then we have problems, right? Because that back and forth, and then the interstate is gridlocked. Also, I never thought that I would stop so many times at zero on an interstate and just sit there for no reason at all.
I call it the park. So you know, we're down here in Venice in our office, and I have to make that decision. Do I leave? Can I get out of here before 2? Because if I can't, I'm just going to stay till 5:30, right? Because then I got to just let it be. Because otherwise, in between, it's a parking lot. You know, if I leave here at 3 o'clock, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get home. I might as well stay here and do some work, right?
So the thing is that we don't build houses in Manatee County.
Yeah.
You know, we approve different plans and things like that. We need to look at those a little bit closer and make sure that the infrastructure is there, and not only is the infrastructure there, it's maintained through the entire process of the building. Because you can put roads into a community, and then you have roads that the dump trucks are running constantly up and down, and they put a lot of wear and tear on those roads going back and forth. And whose responsibility for it when everybody's said and done and the last house is built and the builder pulls out of that community? It's Manatee County's responsibility now, or the CDD. So I think that we need to make sure that we have those communications with those builders to make sure that things are taken care of from start to finish. That
Yeah.
more infrastructure is focused on if we're approving things like sidewalks. Sidewalks are a big deal. I've asked, I go around, get these petitions signed. I ask people, more people tell me that they want street lights than anything else besides congestion and traffic.
Yeah.
One kid I was talking to, he works at the Publix out in Parrish, and when he walks home at night, there's no street lights.
Yeah.
So he just walks home and he's kind of scared because it's just pitch black dark. So those little things that we can do and focus on in Manatee County are just as important as the big things like infrastructure and building. But to your point, I am not against building because I think building is going to happen. We got to have growth in our community. We can't just put the brakes on it and just say we're not going to do that. It's going to happen, but we have to do it smartly.
Yeah, and you touched on the infrastructure. That's something I want to talk about deeply. Is you're absolutely right. Right. When I lived in Orlando, I-4. I could tell you right now, if I became president of the United States tomorrow, my first executive order would be to order everybody off I-4 so I can send a group of A-10s to carpet bomb the shit out of that fucking thing. I hate I-4. Right? It's a. So.
Been under construction for 30 years.
At least, right? At least.
Sounds like that Palmetto in Miami, bro.
Yeah, well, that too. That absolutely too. 826, 836 exchange down there. I mean, that thing is ridiculous.
Oye, chico.
Yeah. So with that being said, I read it was actually a documentary, short one, but it was back when Disney was being built. And they said that the guy who was building I-4 said we should make this 6 lanes on both sides for the future.
Right.
And that dude got laughed out the damn room, right? And now they're still trying to do that, right?
They should have froze his head.
Yeah, instead of Walt's. So that's most of the people like myself and others sensible people in Manatee County. There's a group that believes that there should be a moratorium on all building whatsoever. Probably never going to happen. So wish in one hand and shit in another and see what happens. But with that being said, I think the majority of us are okay with, like you said, sensible development as long as the infrastructure is put in place by the people making this development, right? Yeah. And that goes back to relationships, saying, hey, listen, like Fort Hammer Road is a prime example of that. Like, hey, man, that probably should have been 3 lanes, both sides, right away.
Well, that's an interesting project too.
Yeah.
And when you talk about 6 lanes going on I-4, if they would have built them 6 lanes back then, it would have been cheaper than just putting an extra lane in now because the cost of building has increased so much.
And will always increase.
Yeah. But the thing about the Fort Hammer Bridge, it's 2 lane, and they wanted it to be 4 lanes. But there was some Waterleaf. There was some people in Waterleaf that were not happy with that project, and they were fighting and suing, and they went back and forth. And then all of a sudden, the Army Corps of Engineers says, let's just build the thing 2 lanes because we need it.
Yeah.
And it is a great thoroughfare through our county. We need those. We just like 44th Avenue goes all the way from Anna Maria Island all the way out to Lorraine Road and past now. That's a great thing. But if they would have built it back then, then it would have been a lot cheaper.
And doing what we would all hope it would do, right?
Right.
And I think that's what is badly needed in our community and on our commission. And again, our commission's they're doing some good things, trying to do this, right? Is that, and they're being handcuffed by some of the state requirements. Definitely. Like, I've had great discussions with some of our Manatee County commissioners about that. Like, hey, man, I'd love to be able to do some of this stuff, except I'm handcuffed right now. With that being said, I think that's all of us in Manatee County, Sarasota County, and Charlotte County, because of the extreme growth that's going on everywhere. I think that's all we want. It's just okay. You're going to put 5,000 homes over here eventually over a 6-year project, build a damn roads, build a damn sewer, make
Build
the
a
sidewalks,
station.
build a fucking fire station. Yeah, put street lights up, put sidewalks up, right, and roll it into the cost of the house they're going to sell. You know that, right? People want to live in the free state of Florida. They're going to sell, you know, because that's always been a developer's argument. Well, the cost of housing is going to
They're
go
not
up.
eating it.
20,
Yeah.
not for you.
They don't care.
Not for you, for the person buying it, right? So don't worry about it, and it's going to sell. You're not going to, you know, I've never, at least not since like the 08, 09 era when recession and everything was kind of semi-collapsing. I haven't seen a development go unsold
No,
in quite some time.
developers can turn on a dime.
Yeah.
You know, because they have different resources. If you look at Lakewood Ranch back in 2008, there was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,450 square foot home that I was selling for $139,000.
Yeah.
You know, that thing's at $400,000 now. And they made the adjustments because in 2004, when everything was going up like crazy, you could buy a house one day and sell it for $10,000 more the next.
Yeah.
Those prices kept appreciating. But then when we had the big crisis with all the foreclosures and stuff, builders turned on a dime, and they're doing the same thing now. We're in a situation now with resales on single family homes where we can't compete with what the builders are doing. Builders are giving $35,000 in closing cost assistance. They're buying down rates to 3.99%. They're paying their HOA for a year. You know, they're doing whatever they can to get people to get back into the housing market, and
they're not doing that and losing money, by the way.
they're not.
Yeah.
And if they do lose, they'll lose for a short time.
Yeah.
Because once momentum picks back up, then houses start appreciating again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't fault the builders.
No. But
See,
I
the
don't
builders are a lot of them are public traded companies, and so if you look at that, you have a responsibility to your shareholders, and so your shareholders are going to want to make money, right?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you know, for the majority, again, at least most of the people I talk to, the majority of them just want sensible development. Say, okay, listen, again, if you're going to build 5,000 homes over here, we want the roads, the sewer, there, because you talked about Manatee County being on the hook. Okay, so developer X puts this development out here, and because it's so far out, they have to put septic tanks. And then all of a sudden, now those septic tanks are going 10 or 15 years down the road, and the homeowners need sewer. Well, now Manatee County's on the hook to run sewer all the way out to this development, and that developer is, you know, wherever the hell else next, you know, onto the next thing. So, you know, identifying those things, putting them in ahead of time, and doing that, I think that's really what people want to see.
Is that a roundabout way for you to say they have to give a shit?
As we're talking about septic tanks.
There it is.
I love this dude. I love me
Sorry,
some.
you gotta line it up. A little
I mean,
bit.
I fucking love me some G Regazi, dude. I do, man. He's him and I, G and I go back. We were stewards together. Like, he was a steward for Sarasota. I was a steward for Longboat.
Can you believe that was 15 years ago now?
Yeah, we came up through this union game together, and like dumbasses, we stayed in it.
Suckers.
Yeah, and he's always been my comic relief when it comes to meetings and shit. So yeah, and reelected.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody else wanted to go against me. I don't know why.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I figured.
as a guy, as the only other guy in this room who's ever been secretary of this local, I can tell you why people don't want to do that fucking job. That was not fun. For the 10 months I did that, it was terrible.
Everybody knew they couldn't challenge you.
Yeah,
It is a thankless job. I've watched them. You know, everybody comes in with this happy, positive attitude, and then they're all like beaten down afterwards. And
Yeah.
they serve their fire brothers and sisters.
Thankless.
and our DVP Tim Baker from Sarasota County, man, he,
They keep him busy.
yeah, he looks like he's just a kicked dog most days, you know, and he calls me up and I try to cheer him up, you know, hey man, it's not that big a deal. Like, we'll work through it together. He works his ass off. That, you know, we're in Sarasota negotiations. We had a meeting this morning about that, and him and his team and have been working their asses off. And it is a thankless job, right? You're trying your best to make things happen, and sometimes people get it, sometimes people don't, and that's okay. You know, members, anytime a member calls me, I'm going to listen. That's just what we do. And sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're not, and it's okay. And we'll work through it. The secretary job, on the other hand, that is just, my man over here, we're both on C shift, so we see a lot of each other. Now we do, yeah. And I come in, and he's just sitting at a computer, doing the mundane work of making sure our members are being serviced and that they're in it right, and that they're actually members, and all kinds of shit, right?
Yep.
That's right. And then
that includes retirees.
Yeah. And then I throw more work at him. I bring on 2 more units, right? So he's got to get.
Just with that, I literally just sent from our last quarterly, all the payrolls finally came in. I just sent 63 new members. So welcome to those members to the IFF rolls.
Yeah.
But with that number, we will formally be over 1,600 members.
There we go.
Boom.
There we go. Doing
Well,
things.
I can tell you that I've seen the growth in the union, as far as from the very beginning when I got in '93, and just seeing how the union has developed into actually a bunch of professionals.
Yeah.
That are business thinking, and also leaders, true leaders, and
Thank you.
and I'm certain that they're no, I'm just so
You're looking for who he's talking about?
You've been fooled.
he did not pay me to say that. But the thing is that you evolve over years, and you realize that leadership is very important, and leadership training is very important also. And I imagine you guys go through quite a bit of that to be in the seats that you are now.
For sure. I go actually. That's part of what I do is I still do, and I started doing this back when Matt Seiler was DVP for Sarasota. I was his steward. But one thing that nobody ever did for me was teach me the contract. Something as simple as that. And now our members don't only just hear HR come and talk to them about their benefits and whatnot, but I actually teach them their true benefits, which is the contract. And I'll give the best example. I didn't even know I could take a vacation day for the first 3 years on the job. Because nobody taught me that.
You do that in orientation now, right?
I do that in orientation.
That's
So
awesome.
so when I go do the new hire lunch now, which I did yesterday, and by the way, all the whopping 4 that we hired this time, but all 4 of them signed up. And since I started doing
100%.
that,
100%.
I've been 100% sign up rate for that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
One thing
awesome.
that my brother G, this dude's heart is union big. Like he just loves this union, loves unions, but just loves and believes in it.
I love my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's part of it, and you're right, because there's still places where the HR department will come in and, well, you get this and you get that, and what we have to remind our brothers and sisters, the new ones especially, is they didn't give you a fucking thing.
Yep,
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
They didn't give you
Yeah.
any of that.
That's
We
actually-
fought for all that shit. Because
That-
quite frankly, if it was up to them, you'd be getting fucking peanuants again.
I think
That's
people
actually
don't
one of
know
my
that now.
slides. One of my slides in the presentation I give, it says we want you to be involved because it helps us develop our future leaders. I learned from someone else, our predecessor, but in my slide it also says on the next very bullet point says, remember that besides a few, which I can name on my hand how many good chiefs we're actually looking to improve our pay and benefits. I came in under Gorski, so that's one. Every place that dude has gone has made that department better for the members. They're usually just trying to get it for you to do it cheaper and for less. So and not give you all those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not thinking of new ways to give you benefits. I mean, nobody was thinking about giving us cancer presumption or.
A prime example of House Bill 929 2 years ago, the Florida Fire Chiefs Association. Again, I'm going to just say this right now. We have some great fire chiefs in 2546
We do.
who during that whole thing called me and said, hey, listen, man, just so you know, I'm part of the Florida Fire Chiefs Association, because we all are. Like they're the union for the chiefs. However, I agree with what you guys are doing, and because the Florida Fire Chiefs fought us at the end there, trying 24/72. That's good to just call. No, first of all, it's gonna make your people healthier, better, wanting to come to work, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're a real leader, that's what you would care about, right?
Yeah. No, I don't like the guys that come with the attitude, well, I had to sit through the fire alarm being my tones. I'm like, well, okay, well, we made it better,
Don't you
right?
want-
I mean,
don't
did
you
you
want
like having
better?
180
Yeah.
heartbeat
Yeah.
from, I don't know, 50? when you were
Evolution,
sleeping?
right? We have
Right.
evolved as
Yeah.
human beings. Why shouldn't we evolve in the
Why
fire
should we have
service?
air packs? I don't know.
Yeah, the fire service, 230 years unimpeded by progress. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that stuff goes back, a long way with all that stuff. But, and Tony, thank you for hitting on that. You're absolutely right. I had some great predecessors, Murph Kennel, Phil Vetz. And then, as a business agent, when you watch Rocco Salvatore, when he was a business agent for us, work, I remember the first time I watched him work. Longboat, they were trying to steal our pension. They were trying to take our pensions away from us. And still today, the only employees at Longboat Key with a pension are the firefighters. Cops, general employees, all lost theirs. Right? And we fought them. And Rocco was part of that process as a business agent. And when you see him work, and you're like, well, that's the fucking level you need to be at, right? And so then
That's the smartest guy in the room.
yeah. And so when you make me a business agent, I'm like, well, shit, I got to do what Rocco did. How the hell do I do that, right? And so G's predecessors, my predecessors, they all start pushing the envelope and professionalizing this place. I mean, I remember when Phil Vetz made me business agent. Within a week, we were having a meeting, me, him, Johnny, G, and we were working on all kinds of things. And my eyes were wide open. I was like, holy shit. I thought I knew some shit. I didn't know we did half this shit, right? And that's part of why we're doing this podcast. My members don't know half this shit. And so it's just, we have professionalized this place. We have, we have a whole political team with these two guys here and Tyler Roderick. We have business agents. We have all kinds of stuff. We're really trying to make sure that our members' needs are being met and being professionalized. Most of our guys are now very much educated in all this stuff, and if they're not, we get them training. So thank you for recognizing that.
No, absolutely. I'd compare what you guys do to what I'm going to try to do at Manatee County. Take care of the people in Manatee County. You're taking care of the firefighters.
Before I forget, I don't want to forget, we also have 6 new members that signed up yesterday with Southern Manatee.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
We are. We might be one of the fastest growing locals in the state, to be honest with you, with everything we got going on. So,
Let's just say the
and so
world.
that's why G's
think
in,
we
that's
are.
why G's in
World.
his fucking office every day.
I think we are. I can't
Entering.
confirm it, but I think we are.
I mean, we tell our guys, I tell our guys, the newer guys, that this is their union more than it is mine now.
Absolutely.
I'm on the back end, and these guys got 25 years ahead of them. So the more they get involved now, the better off they'll be.
That's a great point, Mike. And honestly, down in Charlotte County, I think this new group saw
100%.
what a union can do, right?
Charlotte County is 100% right now.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me of that.
100%. I want the certificate. Yeah. I said, how do we get this certificate now?
Largely because of
Yeah.
Everybody.
And to that
All the
point,
moving parts.
and to that point, that is hard to do
Yeah,
for a county department.
200,
They saw it come
over
together.
280 members.
Yeah.
100%, right? And,
100%.
And
Every
some
single
of the
one.
recent activity in Charlotte County, right? We'll just say that, right? Some of the recent activity in Charlotte County, whether it be at the chief level, HR level, and other things that have been going on there. I got young members like River and Fabrizi, right? My boy Fabrizi.
Fabrice, he's driving around Kim Emmons Street today.
I know.
Is he
They're
really?
driving. Yeah, he's driving around knocking
My
on
boy
doors.
That's awesome.
My boy Fabrizi Dufresne,
Yeah,
I love that dude. No,
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I
He's a
met
good
him at he came to Tally this year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
He had some fun.
yeah,
It was good, and he learned a lot, and I was glad he was there.
Yeah.
And so you see these young members who, again, we took them to Tally and we sat with them for a while, and they were just, again, eyes open and appreciative of everything we do. And you guys are doing, and all of us are doing, it's showing, and that's why we got 100% membership in Charlotte right now. We got, honestly, most of our departments now are 100% membership. Most of them, right? Which is crazy.
Pretty
to think about.
amazing. Yeah.
All right, Tony, one more thing before we get into some fun shit. Property tax reform, right? We're waiting to see what the hell happens with that. The state hasn't put anything forward yet. I'm sure they're gonna have a special session of some sort.
Are we allowed to drug test the people who came up with that? But sorry.
If they're public employees, I'm sure. Let's dive into that a little bit. What have you seen about that? What have you read about that? What are you worried about with that when it comes forward? Whatever comes forward.
So we, of course, there was a House bill that came through during session. It was voted on very heavily in positive favor to reduce property taxes for homestead exempt properties, and it encompassed a 10% reduction every year until it was phased out. As far as I know, there was a carve out for public safety, fire, and law enforcement and education.
Yep.
And that's all well and good, but there's just a lot of other components and moving parts to that, because as we all have to be forward thinking and how things change so rapidly in our world now with AI and everything that's going on, we have to be ahead of the game. And so if we set back on our hands and we say this is not going to show up again, that's not true.
Yeah.
Because these bills keep coming up every year. Somebody keeps pushing that agenda. And so eventually we're going to have to deal with that. I don't believe that I would love it. I think everybody sitting here at this table would love the fact that they wouldn't have to pay property taxes on their home anymore. That would be a huge savings. But the consequences of that, the consequences of the actions, would be devastating, I believe. There would be a certain shift in how revenue has to be collected.
Yeah.
And if
You're still shifting the blame. You have to figure out something.
it comes from somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
And no matter what you do.
I think, and a lot of, like we talked about earlier, a lot of these things are blanket bills that come, and maybe there are other parts of the county that or the state of Florida that are not managing their funds very well. I know Manatee County just had a bad DOJ report, $112 million overspending or whatever.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. I don't know where they came up with those numbers, but other places are probably overspending, and I don't disagree that we probably are overspending in Manatee County on certain items.
Yeah.
We need to be fiscally responsible for every tax dollar that comes in, and when that tax dollar comes in, we have to make a determination: is this good for the people of Manatee County?
Yeah.
And for the whole of Manatee County, and so I do believe that there are places that we can cut taxes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I poke a little bit of fun about is they just approved a $7 million ballpark in Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah.
And they're going to resurface the soccer fields out there with artificial turf. Now, when we were kids, I remember second base used to be a milk crate. You know what I'm saying? So
you ain't wrong.
And
Now
I live
I
and
saw
I
the
live
meme
there.
about
wrong.
a $7 million wiffle ball field, and now I know why. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
What are they talking about?
Yeah. So the bottom line is that is that good for the county to spend that money? Or when I was in the Army, for example, and that's government, of course, and I worked at the Troop Medical Clinic. I was in charge of ordering supplies. And so when it comes down to October to the end of the year, the fiscal year, my sergeant came to me and said, you didn't spend enough money on this budget. And I was like, what do you mean, Sergeant? I said, I'm trying to be fiscally responsible. He goes, if you don't spend it, we won't get it back the next year.
Yeah.
and that's the thing that we need to think about. We need to start treating the county government a little bit more like a business, like protecting the money of the people that are giving us the money, and realizing that our budgets aren't going to be taken away if we don't spend all the money that we get, the $1.3 billion a year.
Yeah, reprioritization, right? I said that all wrong, but when we go into contract, we talk about wants and needs, right? What do we want? What do we need? And there may need to be a refocus in all of our governments about that, right? Public safety. That's why I think you see we're carved out. The state, again, not a bill because it went through the House, did not get through the Senate, and there may be a special session. We'll see what happens with that, right? But the state recognizes that, we exist. Government exists to keep its citizens safe. That's public safety, right? That's why we've been carved out. You also need to educate your children, right? You need to make sure we have the next generation and generation and generation after that of good Americans. So you prioritize schools. They reprioritize it. And there's fluff and glitter. There's wants and needs, right? And yeah, mom of the wiffle ball champion of Lakewood Ranch loves the fact that he has a field to play on, but maybe not a whole benefit to the county. And I think that is some of the frustration with county taxpayers in the state of Florida, period. That, hey, maybe that should have been done through a private funding source, bake sales, all kinds of shit, right? That gets things done.
Well, I mean, we used to build fire stations with pancake breakfasts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. And or just,
how about a partnership with the Marauders or the
Yeah.
Pirates,
yeah.
and put their name on it? LECOM has
Which they would love,
Absolutely.
right? And then additionally, let's face it, there's probably a tax break in there where they're actually paying nothing for it, right? Because it's a charitable contribution of some sort, right? That's the kind of stuff I think you got to bring to the table with your connections in the community to say, hey, listen, instead of paying $7 million for this field of taxpayer money, why don't we fucking call the Pirates? And we could probably get the fucking Pittsburgh Pirates to fund every little league field in Manatee County.
right.
Hey man, it's gonna cost, whatever, 15, 20 million bucks. But Pittsburgh Pirates sign is gonna be, you're gonna have 100,000 Pirates fans in Manatee County
Whole bunch of little bucks.
forever, ever.
Yeah.
Right. That kind of stuff, like we talked about with the pets. Like there's ways to think about this differently, and anybody listening to this that may or may not be a voter, most of it's just our members, but we're going to get it out there on blast for everybody to see. That's something that you're going to bring to the table. I absolutely believe in that in my heart, that you're going to try your best to find ways to eliminate some of the waste we have and think of it creatively. And so, yeah, thank you for running. People ask me sometimes, hey, when are you going to run for office? I said, when my wife and kids disown me, because I'm not subjecting them to this shit ever. I'm okay with being the guy behind the guy maybe one day, that kind of deal, where I'm not running for office, but the guy running for office is my best friend or some shit. But yeah, thank you for running and putting your name out there and taking some of the shots you're going to take in the upcoming months.
Yeah, it's going to be a journey for sure. Definitely a learning experience. I'm getting to meet a lot of nice new people.
Yeah.
Throughout the process.
Yeah.
Listening to them, getting some good ideas going forward. I think that is what it's all about.
Tony, how you doing on petitions?
That's going to be a struggle, my friends.
Okay.
We need
where we can get that, where people can get those, or they're listening.
So because you're countywide, you can take a petition from anybody in the county, correct?
that is registered voter. Yes.
And you need 3,000.
Yes.
And how many do you have right now, do you think?
About 300.
All right, we got to get to work on that.
All right, guys, there you go.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna be hitting fire stations soon. All right, so that's a whole nother. That's something we got to do. We got to get Tony on the ballot because
Well, I think it's something to get to explain to our members who are listening and everybody else who listens. May not understand what that means. So when you say petition, it's literally, it costs you nothing. You're not writing him a check, and you're not saying you're anything else other than you're a registered voter and you want to see him on the ballot. And what it does, it also helps him not have to pay more money out of pocket just to be on the ballot.
Right. You could sign all 4 or 5 of us.
yeah,
that
I was
are-
gonna say that. I was just
Right.
gonna say that because like
It's not a vote.
yeah.
It's a actually.
You could say you want everybody who's running on the ballot. That's
Yeah.
You know, Amanda Ballard, I'm in District 2, Manatee County, so Amanda Ballard is my commissioner, and I've seen that she's out collecting petitions too. I think she has a lower threshold because she's a district, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, but with Amanda, and she's working her butt off. I
Yeah.
can tell you that much right now. I support her.
Yeah.
But she's in her own district, so I can go anywhere in
Yeah,
Manatee County
exactly,
and talk
yeah.
to people. But she's got to get like 700 petitions signed, and they all have to be within her district.
Yeah.
And so I don't know which is harder.
I don't either.
Pros and cons.
But my point
that's
with
true.
my point with that is, I know Amanda has opponents. If I showed up to Publix tomorrow and all 4 of them were there, I would sign all 4 of them.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's like, hey man, yeah, everybody should be on the ballot.
Democratic process.
Yeah, that's how you get it.
no,
I would
it's
sign
good
every
to have
ballot.
that competition, man.
I would sign every ballot that someone puts in front of me.
I've
Or
signed
petition, rather. Yeah.
Ed Ferentz's ballot. I've signed his petition. He signed mine.
That's great. That's awesome.
Hey, we're working with each other right now.
Yeah, I get it. You know, so awesome.
Well, we need guys to hear that and get those petitions out.
Yeah,
And we'll facilitate that a little bit as well.
yeah, we're gonna start working on that. Greg and I, especially in Manatee County.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
all right. So, all right, Tony, here we go.
Am I
Go
allowed to
ahead.
ask a question real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Tony, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question. And being in the military and being in the fire service and public safety, can you tell me a little bit about the transition from fire service to regular life?
As a guy getting there.
Well, here's the deal.
So you were here when he took overtime earlier, right? Because he's in the last 5
exactly.
years. All right.
So, how much time do I have to
As
talk
much as you
about
need.
this? Because I can tell you, it's near and dear to my heart, to tell you the truth. So when I was getting ready, I've been in public service all my life, right? And being in the military or EMS or law enforcement or a firefighter, it's a different public service. It's something that you look forward to every third day, meeting with your family, and hanging out with them and catching up with them and things like that.
Yeah.
It's also brother and sisterhood because you share a lot of experiences that nobody else will ever be able to fathom. And doing that for such a long period of time, once that's taken away from you, you've kind of lost your purpose. And you go, what's going to fill this void when I leave this job? I am going to do what? And obviously I filled my time with other things. But there are people out there that don't fill that time. They don't fill that void. And unfortunately, they might turn to going to the bar every day where they can hang out with their friends and they drink too much. There's a high suicide rate of retirees out there. I'm very much an advocate and component of having a program, a transition program from public service into the civilian world, and how you're going to fill that void when you leave the job, because it just ain't going to fill itself. You're going to have to do something. And I know this for a fact because I experienced it myself, but when I experienced it myself, I started talking to other people that retired too. And I said, how did you feel? And they give me the real answer, and the real answer is, I lost my purpose.
Yeah.
And the purpose has to continue somehow. And I don't, it's different for everybody. You can only spend so much time around your house after you retire, cleaning gutters. And
Well, and yeah, your wife is used to not seeing you every third day, and she's
that's-
probably fucking. Not
Yeah, they're
real
used to
happy.
that break from you.
Yeah,
For sure.
you know, her shows.
What are you doing here?
I have to watch her shows now. and
Yeah.
she has to watch mine. That's weird.
Oh wait, you had a choice?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Jason, last show we talked about the spousal group
Yeah,
that we're starting up.
yeah.
Could we possibly talk about something about maybe
Sure.
retiree group?
So, another thing Tony just brought up just now, and, we talked about earlier about the 3% public safety funding, which I didn't know about, eye-opening to me. What you're saying is also, as the leader of this organization each year, when I took over, I did my own little assessment of, conditions, actions, needs, like we do in the fire service, CAN assessment, right? We got to do better at this and this and this, right? One of the things I identified was the fact that I had 1,500 members and I had 22 fucking peer support counselors, and we brought 100 more on, right? Communications was another problem that I didn't, just talking to members, not even just talking to DVPs, talking to members. Hey man, I don't know what the hell's going on in my union. I pay union dues, etc. All right, we need to up our social media presence, our website presence. We're doing this part of that, right? Now you just brought up a great next level thing that we all have to start spitballing, and G and I and Johnny and our executive board will get in a room one day and talk about this. But transition programs, right? Our brothers up in Jacksonville. I just thought about when you said that, but our brothers up in Jacksonville, local 122, and I've watched them for years. We talked about it last episode. These guys do a lot of great things. They've been one of the original locals in Florida. One of the first 5 locals in Florida was Jacksonville, right? They created the FPF. And one of the things they do, which I've thought about in my mind, and I'm, and now you brought it up, is just having a retiree breakfast once a month.
That'd be amazing.
Where we put it out there and we buy a couple Blackstones and we throw some eggs and bacon and pancakes on there.
You could use our grill actually.
And our fucking smoker grill thing out there that is collecting all kinds of spiders probably.
We'll burn them out.
Yeah, but they do that once a month, and talking to their leadership about it years ago when I was up there for a convention. They said it when they first started 20 years ago, it was literally like 8 or 9 guys, and then the word got out, and the next one was 15, and the next one was 20, and now they have to give guys union time pool to come cook for it.
That's great.
Because they get 150 guys roll up in there in their union hall, sitting around eating breakfast and talking about stories, talking war stories. There's things we could be doing better, and so you mentioned that, and I keep this little book with me everywhere I go, write notes down. So we're going to start discussing that for sure.
And if I can be a part of it, I'd love to be a part of that too.
Absolutely. Well, you're an active retiree, so you
Yeah,
will
you-
be a part of it.
You just get to come eat, brother. We'll cook it.
You get to come eat and tell the war stories.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go, guys.
Well, one more thing.
Okay,
one more
go.
thing. Just
Go
one more
ahead.
thing.
Go ahead. Question.
So everybody flies by this, and I heard you fly by it, the 501c3. Can you tell us, well, what I think is cool is this is something that you did because you cared about versus maybe putting it on a resume to become a candidate. And we see that every so often where someone just pads
Resume.
their
Stats.
resume. It'd be like, look at how great I am. And, I didn't know any of those things before meeting up with you, but just talking about it, it was pretty cool to see that you're passionate about something. There was a reason why you started it, and you continue it to today. It didn't just start last year or a couple years before. I think you said 2012.
Yes.
And that's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of a 501c3, the difficulty of it? I know we have one for the union. It's just interesting that you started one individually, or two, I guess, individually.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It is hard to give away money.
I'm only laughing because it's fucking true.
It is true. Like you just think you're gonna have like a potluck and some raffles and stuff like that, and you're gonna get the money and you're gonna give it away. Oh no, there's all kinds of regulations that are
Yeah, there's
associated with
all
that.
kinds of tax stuff, right?
You
The
got-
IRS, Uncle Sam wants to make sure
You
you're
have to
doing
be
it some way.
qualified through the IRS.
Yeah.
There's a 23-page document that you have to fill out to make sure that you're approved for a 501c3. Then the state of Florida gets involved, and actually the Department of Agriculture gives us the right to solicit for funds. You have to fill out paperwork on that every year. So there's so many things that go along with that, and I just thought, yeah, this would be easy. We'll just get some money and we'll give it away. But no, you're highly regulated, and I understand that probably because there's bad actors out there that are doing some things. But yeah, I've done that. I've always had like a servant heart. With Florida Realtors, we work all the time to protect personal property rights. Heroes Welcome Home works with the Realtor Association's community outreach. Once a year, we find a elderly veteran. We go out and beautify their home, and we also paint and stuff like that. We have what we call waterway cleanups that are coming up statewide. Our waterway cleanup in Manatee, Sarasota County is going to be on July 11th this year out on Anna Maria Island. And so we can hope that we can get a whole bunch of people involved from the community to come out and pick up trash and show that we're interested in doing something. And I've always thought that every time that I got involved in something, I always wanted to leave it better than when I found it.
That's awesome. I think that's the reason all of us are in this room today. Even when we got in the fire service, right?
Well, it takes a special breed to get into the fire service.
Well, it
sir.
does, but it's something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. All right, random question time. We're gonna start with Mike McNeely.
Uh,
All right, it's for everybody, but we're gonna go right around.
that wasn't there.
and we'll end with me,
I don't know those people.
and then I got a couple of other points, and then we'll get the hell out of here. But all right, Mike, what made you get into public service? Let's do it.
My father. That's an easy one. Yeah, my dad was in the fire service for 25 years in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, called Fairview Park, and so I grew up around it.
So Cleveland, Ohio. You mean the mistake by the lake?
Yeah, the mistake by the lake.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So
It caught on fire. All that stuff.
Is
Lake Erie.
Fairview like Ridge Farm? Is there?
Yeah.
Is it a Fairview?
There's a view, and it's fair.
It's a fair.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
you remember
It's a
that.
fair view. That's Greg over there. Greg remembers everything.
We just put Ridge Farm on the map, population 800.
Well, Greg's
Sure.
also a little bit of a Rain Man, so yeah, he's got that Rain Man tick to him.
So yeah, my dad was like, "Oh, you'd be great at this. You should do it." And I was like, "Nah, I'm going to college. I'm gonna be something special." And right around the age of 32, I moved down here following my dad and my brother, and my wife came with me. We weren't married at the time, and I said, "I think I'm gonna do a career change. I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing." And I thought back to what my dad told me, and I was like, let me bring it up again. And so when I sat and I was talking to him, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about me going into the fire service?" And he was like, let's do it." And so he gave me a loan, although I didn't really need the loan, but it was very helpful. I had a painting business, and so I would paint during the day and take coursework at night or over the weekends. And yeah, made the transition and went into it, and it was the best decision I ever made. And I love it.
Awesome.
And he got to see that. And he got to pin
Yeah.
me, too,
Oh,
before he
that's
passed
cool.
away. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Nice.
Well played. Well played.
Yes.
All right, G.
Well, I actually have to blame the Hollywood 1375 brothers and sisters.
Don't,
Ironically enough,
you don't have to mention those dudes.
why not? This is where I,
kidding.
this
I'm
is where I
kidding.
come. This is part of
No,
my,
I'm
my
kidding.
origin story, sir. You asked. Or do you want me to go back to
No,
to
I'm
Chile? Okay, all right. So yeah, we attended a community emergency response team. I think it was my now ex stepfather's way of getting a free breakfast that morning. But they actually put on training for the community, and you heard of these CERT teams, and that's actually been a thing around here, which all were born of hurricane response and everything like that. So we got to go, and then I was, I believe I was 13, turned maybe 14 at the time, and the firefighters were there, and then they were showing me how to do quick assessments and stuff, and it's like, hey, we have this Explorer program. And that's what I'm a product of, actually. Before that, I thought I was going to be an architect. Go figure that. I like drawing and like math. Go figure that out. But I guess I was okay with it because at 15 years old, I rode an ambulance with those guys, and nobody spoke Spanish in the truck, and our first call was a choking baby. So I got through translating that. Thank God it wasn't really a choking baby. They just overfed the baby, and the baby was, chucking it up. But, this is how I got out of the truck. And I was like, well, I made it through that. I guess I could do this job. And, I guess I could do it too, as well as my mom worked as a EMT here in the States, but in the ER, kind of as an ER tech. But she was a paramedic in Chile. So I didn't know that until later on. I was like, yeah, I was actually, they called her paramedic, but I don't know. But I guess I get my IV skills from her because she could draw blood from a rock. Every time you have a heart stick, that's who they used to call. God bless her. She actually just landed in Chile today. She's going back to spend a month there and coming back. So
Excellent.
Hope she has some fun. She's definitely earned her retirement. Raised 2 boys by herself. Brought them to this country.
She's definitely earned it,
Oh yeah.
especially you two.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
after sitting there having a couple, beverages with your brother, I realized you two were both trouble.
Oh no, I tried to. That's the thing. That's the thing. Is like when on Father's Day, I call my mom. So, but that's the thing. Is like Dad made me grow up kind of quick, and I always trying to be a good example for my little brother.
Yeah.
There was a time I wanted to choke him out a little bit.
I get it. I get it.
But I'm glad he got in. The Marines got to him, and
Well,
I couldn't be prouder of him today. Now he's a father himself, 3 daughters.
yeah.
As we say in Spanish, chancletero.
Yeah.
When you don't have girls.
Yeah.
So
That's me. I got 3.
Yeah, you're a chancletero too. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I got one son too. Well, you touched on it too. We in the fire service in the state of Florida are having, for whatever reason, recruitment issues, right? So just getting people through school, right? And a lot of our departments now, a lot of 2546 departments are bringing back cadet programs or explorer programs to try to get to the kids in the high school levels and say, hey, man, this is a pretty fucking cool job, and come out and hang out with us and see what we do and been pretty successful with that. And so that's some kind of, for a time it was there, and then we were getting, we're having 1,500 people show up for 50 jobs, and then now we've gotten away from but the departments are doing a great job.
Well,
there's a lot of 2546 departments doing it.
It was a great, especially if you're like someone who doesn't exactly know what you're going to do, and that's one of those programs you get into. And for me, it was awesome just because not only did I write the calls, but we also did fundraising. So we volunteered in the community. For me, it was like no brainer having all the hours I needed because I do know you need volunteer hours to graduate from high school, in case you didn't know that.
Well, I'm old enough to where you didn't need that.
I go back to 02, okay, but still.
Yeah, I'm old.
That was
we
child
did
labor back then.
Yeah, we did not
Wasn't
need that when I'm
volunteer.
that
But
old.
they do want
Dig that ditch. It's your prison.
You do have to have some. So that was a great way to get the hours and just learn. And the other thing too is just walking into when I did go to EMT school or fire school, I wasn't surprised by what I was being taught. Maybe because that's part of what we did. We did go to competition. I got to go around the country a couple of times, different road trips. That was part when we did our fundraising. We went to see fire departments outside of Florida. So I got to go to Chicago, got to New York, went to Washington, D.C. We had actually competitions in Tennessee, and we competed against other Explorer posts, and it was fire EMS stuff. So
Good stuff.
And it was a great time. So I mean, it's a great way to learn what our big community is about. So, and the one thing that my 1375 sisters did is the Explorer post was modeled after the local. So even our post number was 1375. So I actually served as the president for a couple of years, and I served as a treasurer for.
Well, good. The president's spot's open here, and like.
No, I'm not gonna do that. No, sorry. It's different. It's different being there, but it's just that it just taught me how.
Yeah.
It gave me a little insight. So, I guess I didn't think about it at the time, but when I got into here, and of course I can blame Merv Kennel too for making me do this work.
I think there's like half our e-board here, Merv Kennel, for fucking making us do this work.
But you know what? That guy is given so much of his life, and I appreciate him.
Yeah, I talked to him 2 days ago.
Yeah,
and I mean, anytime he calls,
yeah.
If I'm not doing, if I can answer, I will,
Yes.
because he,
Yes.
just awesome dude. All right, Greg, you're up.
All right. Well, my story is a podcast in itself. I probably did everything that you can think of before I became a firefighter. And I went to fire academy at 40 years old. So
Yeah,
I would say what I found out about myself is I don't really like making money because everything I did, I was never happy. And it comes down to I would not make a lot of money because I would just try to help the people.
yeah,
And that doesn't make a very good businessman.
it does not.
40 years old, never married, no kids, met my wife. She had a little girl. And I was like, all right, well, time to get a real job and start taking care of some people. So went to fire academy at 40, got hired at 42 years old, and loving every second of it. And it's been
Perfect.
great.
Tony, you're up. Let's go.
I didn't realize I was a public servant until I actually got involved in it for a while.
Yeah,
You know, I did it because it was cool.
yeah,
I mean, I remember volunteering at Amarillo
Yeah.
Fire Department and riding on the back of a tailboard on the
Yeah.
way to the fire, and just doing cool stuff. That's
Yeah.
all I wanted to do, and save people's lives and
You
things
know,
like
so
that.
so you were you doing that when Ed Cleveland was there?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, Chief Cleveland's awesome. Dude.
It was all volunteer.
Yeah.
And then we ended up with 3 captains, and
Mm-hmm.
the fire department has evolved into such a business really at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But we did things back then that I didn't realize were in addition to, because every job that I think that you should have some kind of community outreach and public service. And when a hurricane comes through, and you organize a bunch of pies to be auctioned off and things like that, so they can send hurricane relief funds to those folks. When you go out and you fill a boot like you guys have been doing lately,
Yeah.
that's above and beyond the calling of what you're doing. And then just to be a public servant itself is something that we don't brag about, but it's encompassing in what we do.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed helping other people, and this job just helped me fall into place with that.
That's awesome. There's a line in Backdraft when Robert De Niro's character is talking to Donald Sutherland's character when they're he was coming up for parole or something, right? Because he was an arsonist, and he said the funny thing about firemen is night and day they're always firemen, right? And outside of us, we don't understand that, right? Even I was living up in Ellington for a while, and we were driving home. My son played quarterback for Manatee High, and I was driving home, and right in front of me, guy ran a red light, and someone ran into him, and the car got overturned. And I threw the car in park, told my wife, drive to the Chili's, because it was, get to the Chili's, I'll meet you there. And I went sprinting. And she's shouting at the top of her lungs, where the fuck are you going?
Yeah.
And I'm just in full, I got to check.
Just doing your job.
Yeah. And afterwards, she was like, what were you thinking? You're in sandals. You're doing this. I'm just going to help. That's what we do, right? We night and day, we're always firemen. For me, I was, so I graduated high school in 96, which, I mean, Probably half our members weren't even born yet, but that's okay. And my family was middle class, and there was no such thing as a college fund. So I took the ASVAB, scored very high on it, do whatever I wanted in the military. I was looking at going in the Marine Corps. I was probably about 6 weeks from going to Parris Island, South Carolina, in the Marine Corps. And UCF sent me a package of scholarship and financial aid that allowed me to do it without, taking out a whole lot of loans. And I said, well, college sounds a lot better than going in the Marine Corps, right? Plus, my mom was definitely scared of me doing Marine shit, right? Very protective mother, right? She has 2 boys, and we're almost her entire existence, even today. And so, went to UCF, got a degree in finance and economics, got out, and just hated what I was doing. Wasn't happy with what I was doing.
Too nerdy.
Yeah. Something. It was something, right?
Much math.
Just didn't like it. And I remember, and it's not just making it up and recording anything. I remember I was driving into work, and my boss calls me and says, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I said, I was on that fucking thing called I-4, and I'm on I-4 fucking trolling in. He's like, "Turn around, shit's going down somewhere, and you need to whatever." So I didn't even know. So I turn on the radio, and it's on the radio, right? I get home, and just as I was getting home, the first tower went down. Yeah. This is 9/11.
Oh yeah.
And that whole day unfolds. And so my just duty to country, in my mind, I was like, well, I want to do something. And my initial thought was like, fucking, I'm going in the Marine Corps now. Now I'll go in as an officer, and we'll go get these guys who got us, right?
Yeah,
And,
identify.
yeah. But I had a wife and a mother and a family, or soon to have family. And I remember watching this. It was either CNN or Fox or MSNBC or whatever the hell they are now. Back when they actually reported news.
Correct.
And they were talking about these firemen who knew what they were getting into and just still did it. And I said, you know what? I can do that. I can be a part of something and serve my community, which sounds a lot better than serving something in the sand,
Right.
6,000 miles away, right? Luckily, I had a great wife at the time who understood I hated life and said, do whatever you need to do. And within about 6 months, I enrolled in fire school and applied for Orange County in 2003 and never looked back. And it was just awesome. And it's been awesome ever since, and just very thankful of this job, of everything we just talked about. So anyway, just a couple cleanup things here as we close up. Next week, we got Joey Reyes coming on.
All right.
Oh man, I got hired with Jim. He enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I'm-
so
I'm
then I'll have
wondering
2
about
Spanish
him.
guys on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Joey's going to be talking about MDA, which is his passion. We raised a lot of good money this year. Joey's our main MDA coordinator for the area. I'm gonna call around and try to get some more MDA guys in here, but we're gonna talk about some MDA stuff and everything next week. Joey's on. A couple things one thing I screwed up last week. Magnus Cockerham.
Again, may I speak to that, please?
Yeah, great. Another great fucking name. But Magnus, I said he got best costume. He actually raised the most money. So, and G and his team were Care Bears this year, which most of us
Yes, that's what I was gonna.
born after
Yeah.
1990 don't know what a fucking Care Bear is. But
Well, they made a they rehashed the show. They always do these things.
so they were Care Bears.
Yeah.
But Magnus Cockerham raised the most money. So thank you, brother Magnus. We got to get Brother Magnus on here one
I
time.
misspelled this name in my phone. For some reason, it says Magnum Cockerham. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Cockhammer or something like that. I don't know.
well, I think that's what we call him.
Hammer.
That's what we
Yes.
called him at the e-board meeting. Yeah.
God bless him.
Quick reminder this weekend, April 4th, which is Saturday, and we'll probably be up on this tomorrow, but Big Cleveland charity event this weekend. And then our brother Tony Barrett, same day. So I'm going to go to the Vic Cleveland event and then haul ass back home to Manatee County. Tony Barrett has Meet Tony Barrett Day going on. So
You're all welcome to come.
Greg-
Absolutely.
Bring those petitions, brother.
yeah, Greg and I will be there to make sure Tony makes some friends, right? So, and one last thing, Greg, Cedar Hammock firefighters, they're bowling. They're doing a bowling event. I think this is the first time we've had a bowling event in 2546. Go.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
do you have the?
Yep. Go right here. May 17th
Okay.
at Bolorama on Cortez Road. Check in 1 o'clock. Start time 2 o'clock. 4-man teams.
Pitchers of beer start at 12
Yeah.
o'clock.
Pitchers of beer 12.
Yeah.
$30 per person. 4-man teams. That gets you 3 games and shoes.
Full disclosure, I won't be bowling, but I will be hanging out with my brothers and sisters that
Lots
day.
of beers.
You can
lots of
sponsor a
wings.
bowler.
Yeah, I'll sponsor a bowler.
There you go. Perfect. First sponsor right there.
We doing a local team? That's what-
Any
Well, we
questions?
could do
You can
that
look
too.
out on it's on the Union website or the Union Facebook page, Cedar Hammock Facebook page,
We'll get up on the website too.
or
and-
call me.
Yep, absolutely. All right, brothers, thank you
also-
so much. Okay, no, sorry.
Bob Delaney,
yes.
Wednesday.
April 8th, yes. So Bob Delaney event it's actually USF's campus. All right. So it's on our website and social media. That's on April 8th. I saw Sarah Rowley today and talked to her. I actually have to head to Orlando for my state rep responsibilities. So I will not be there. Apologize. I was planning on being there, but until Johnny Rigney and G find me a fucking clone machine, I can only be in one place at one time. So, brothers, thank you so much. Tony Barrett, my brother.
I'm working on the jet for you, bro.
Yeah, G's working on a jet in the budget for me. Thank you so much for coming, sharing your vision. Sign a petition. If you live in Manatee County, come into the office. We have them here. On your way home, sign a petition. We're going to be hitting stations. Let's get our brother on the ballot, and then let's get his ass in office. Right?
Yeah.
We need our brothers in office. So thank you, Tony, for coming so much.
Thank you guys, and thanks for sharing a little bit about your past. I really enjoy getting to know you guys just a little bit better, and I really appreciate the support of the IAFF in this campaign because it's going to go a long way. And hopefully, I'm just like Vern Buchanan, and I'm one day saying to all you guys, thanks for getting me elected.
You know, the community's going to see our yellow signs out there, and sometimes people think there's this magical entity that just puts those yellow signs up. No, it's us, right?
Yeah.
It's us. It's local firefighters who make these decisions. It's not some magical wizard behind the curtain in D.C. or some shit, right? It's us.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of year.
Yeah. So when you see them, they belong to us. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, brothers, for being here. With that, we're going to sign off.
All right.
Shout out Station 5.
Good night, Vietnam.